Well, hello out there. My name is Jason. I'm executive pastor here at Church Alive. And joining me today is Ellis McMath. Ellis is joining us. He is a candidate for New Mexico House of Representatives, District 23, which represents the west side of Albuquerque primarily. Church Alive is hosting this event, and the reason that we're doing this is because we want our church and churches throughout Albuquerque and our community in general to be familiar with our candidates. So it is in our effort to bring in as many candidates as possible and just simply enjoy and have some time with them, really seek out the positions that these candidates have, why they're passionate, why they're running, and just take a journey with each of them along the way. So joining us today is Ellis McMath. And Ellis, I'm so excited that you're joining with us. I've known you for quite some time, and I know that you are very active in the community. I know that you did a campaign with your daughter a couple years ago. Dan Lewis, you helped out in that one as well. A lot of things that you've been active with in the community. For those of who know you, they know that to be the case pretty well. Other things that you've done, I know that you have been a reserve police man for APD. And
my parents moved to the west side, and I smartly went with them. And it was there that I went to this little airport called the 7-Bar Airport when I graduated from high school and got my pilot's license, launched me off into an amazing career. And to this day, I'm a commercial pilot and a flight instructor and a missionary pilot. So I kind of like it here in Albuquerque, and especially on the west side.
Oh, that's great. So I know one area that I've admired and that I appreciate about you, you have a Concealed Carry Instructor's certification, and you use that certification to go and work as a nonprofit with orphanages and missionary in Mexico. Fill us in on that. Share that journey. How did that come about, and where are you in that process now?
Well, that's interesting. A little bit more about me. I was Navy Air Traffic Controller, something I want to mention because on May the 20th, on 1975, I was in the Gulf of Tonkin on the USS Coral Sea, and we were involved in the Mayaguez incident. Now, if you look that up, it's an amazing situation in which the Cambodians captured one of our merchant vessels, and we were involved in a launch with the Marines and the Air Force, and they actually flew these shot-up Marines to our ship.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going to be publishing some of that on my Facebook page coming up on May the 20th. So I was an FAA air traffic controller. The advantage of that is you get to retire at age 50. Amazing. I don't want to say that I started a new life, but I started a new life. I did several things. One, like you said, I became an APD police officer on a volunteer basis. It's called a Reserve Police Officer. Saw some amazing things, got some amazing experiences with the people of Albuquerque. Another thing I did, I went to New Mexico State University as a commercial pilot and flew their unmanned aircraft drone pilot down there. And I also started this nonprofit organization called Better Together Mexico. How that happened, I'm a member of Sagebrush Church.
Uh-huh.
They invited me on a mission. I thought, you know what, I'm really wasting my time here. I'm bored, I want to be back home. But at the end of that mission trip, something happened to me. And I said, you know what, I could get a few guys and we can go down there with some tools and build one of these houses. And that's what started this thing in 2004. And since then, we've done 107 mission trips into Mexico.
Wow.
We've built churches, we've done medical and dental ministries. We do orphan care. We take the orphans on a camp out. It's just been an amazing experience. The motto that our organization has is God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think. And that certainly has been my experience.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So I got to ask the question, why public office? Is your candidacy about just serving in general, as you just shared? Are you passionate about specific issues, or is it a little bit of both? Why suffer the slings and arrows of public office?
Well, I'd like to say that I'm following in my daughter's footsteps. Brenda Boatman actually ran for this office 2 years ago. And she actually lives across the street from me in my subdivision here on the west side by the Cottonwood Mall. And I was involved in her campaign. I met some amazing legislators in Santa Fe, the people that lay down their life to make good laws for the people in New Mexico. And then I asked them, well, how much you guys get paid for this? And the answer is zero. We are the last citizen legislators in the United States. And it's just, I was inspired by these people, and I just wanted to follow in their footsteps.
Oh, that's wonderful. So let's get into some of the topics. Let's get into kind of some of your positions. One issue that's crucial to most in the church is the preservation of the family unit. I know this is kind of a broad topic, broad scope. You can hit it in a lot of different ways. It encompasses family health, education, parental rights, education, sexual orientation, keeping the family unit together as much as possible. But ultimately, what are you looking to prioritize to strengthen the family unit?
Well, first of all, I would like to see faith-based programs help strengthen the family. Faith-based programs are more effective than government-based programs. The churches could put on classes like Parenting 101, 7 Steps to a Happier Family, and I think this would help our families in New Mexico. Also, education. Education is important to me. I think parents should play a more prominent role. First of all, vouchers could be issued to parents, allowing them to choose public, charter, or private or homeschool options. And also, parents should be offered resources and enlisting them as a teaching partner. And I think this would strengthen our families.
That's great. Another vital issue, preservation of life. We know just how divided this country is in protecting the unborn. And then also issues relative to assisted living near the end of life. Where do you stand on this issue, and what do you want to see accomplished with your time in office on these issues?
Well, Jason, I would say that this is my number one passion, my number one issue. Albuquerque has been known as the late-term abortion capital of the world. They actually fly young ladies in all over the world to have these late-term abortions in Albuquerque. Any civilized person, society, that would see what happened in those abortion clinics, they basically rip a human being apart and kill it. This needs to stop. And I'm going to write a manifesto, and I have 5 secular reasons why abortion should stop. Want to hear about them?
Yes, please. Fill me in.
Number 1, it's because life begins at conception. With our scientific tools we have today, we have discovered that life begins at conception. Number 2 is it's a human rights violation, the right for a human to live. Number 3 is it hurts women. Studies have shown that women suffer from depression, they suffer from regret for having abortion, and there's no need for abortion because of the infant safe haven laws that we have today. A woman can bring a baby to a full term and basically just drop it off on safe haven laws. And number 5 is adoption. There are plenty of families waiting out there to adopt a child. And I support the current law on the New Mexico book, 40A 5-3, that was written in 1969. It's a current law of New Mexico that any doctor that performs an abortion is guilty of a 4th-degree felony.
Oh, wow.
Now, why is it they're not prosecuted for that? Because of Roe v. Wade. we hope, we pray that Roe v. Wade will be overturned and therefore revert to this law.
Okay. Wow. By the way, I'm asking questions as we go. These are questions relevant to the church, but on our website at churchaliveabq.com or on the Vimeo link, feel free to log in and join our chat room. If you have a question for Ellis in just a few minutes, be happy to send that forward as well. As we continue our conversations and our questions, we'll look to see if you have any as well that we can ask him. So make sure to join that in chat. Let us know that you're there, and I'm sure that we'll echo those questions to him. So Ellis, one issue that kind of just seems to be hiding beneath the surface is human trafficking. For a long time, I personally have always kind of assumed that trafficking was, something that took place on the other side of the globe. I knew it existed in some degree and in some manner, but it wasn't happening in my backyard. News has kind of come out, and in light of that, we've seen some things on federal levels with NXIVM, things relative to Jeffrey Epstein, a lot of chatter in Hollywood. Looking at the statistics in New Mexico and Albuquerque specifically, I know the 2018 numbers was 14,000 crimes against children, which I know is a little bit broader than some of those areas that I just talked about. But in relative scope, when we look at El Paso, it's about 6 times what the city of El Paso was. And now we've got the I-25 and the I-40 corridor, and just with everything going on just on federal levels and things that we're seeing in Albuquerque and the I-25 corridor, I think it's time to kind of start having that conversation and looking at some of these things that have just pried beneath the surface. And so in saying all of that, have you given this issue any thought? And if you have, where are you with this?
Well, you're right, Jason. It's kind of a hidden problem. It's like the drug lords, you don't really see them out there. So I think we need more programs of awareness. And surprisingly, I just saw a commercial recently on TV about how to recognize this kind of a thing. And it was a healthcare worker where a young lady came in with an older man, and the older man wouldn't let the healthcare worker be alone with this young lady. And he answered all the questions that the doctor had. That should be a red flag that perhaps this girl is involved in human trafficking.
Right.
So certainly awareness and some more commercials like that where we can think about these problems, recognize them, and then figure out a way to report this horrible thing that's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Other questions. Free exercise clause of the First Amendment. Obviously, that's front and center with interest of the church. The free exercise clause is our constitutional right with freedom of religion. Obviously, our First Amendment right as a whole is relative to freedom of speech. So these things are front and center in the interest of the church. Where do you stand on these in the First Amendment?
Well, I not only support free speech, but I support the free expression of religion. Now, I have some experience in this, and that when I was on that aircraft carrier, I was, let's just say, a fully engaged Christian. And I didn't mind showing my faith with patches on my jacket and such. And I was ostracized at the water cooler. I paid a price for it, but I think it made me grow. It was like a Christian boot camp, if you will. However, since then, I've heard some horror stories of Christians in the military that have suffered terribly because of their Christian faith. And we can't let that happen. Fortunately, over in some of the corporate places that we have here in Albuquerque, Intel, my ministry partners with Intel. We do a PB&J food sack lunch program with Intel, and they have a Christian club at Intel. So the Christians are allowed together. They're allowed to do these ministry projects during their lunch hour at work. So I salute Intel for that.
Oh, that's great. That's news to me. That's good to hear. and I applaud that as well. I think that's so important. One other question. I think I know where you stand on this, given my history with you, but also the Second Amendment. I think I know your response, but anything that you'd like to share relative to Second Amendment rights as far as granted to us by the Constitution?
Well, fortunately, my experience as an Albuquerque police officer, I was able to get some amazing training on the use of deadly force.
Constitution.
And what I've learned is that criminals fear armed citizens more than they do the police. Why? The police are 15 minutes away. They come with lights and sirens. They wear uniforms and they act in a predictable way. You're really not quite sure what's going to happen when grandma gets assaulted and pulls her .38 special out.
Right.
And I would like to quote our first president, George Washington, said firearms should be held in the highest esteem. Every citizen should own them and know how to use them. So I continue my work as a concealed carry instructor. I teach at Cabela's.
Oh, that's fantastic. I think I need to renew mine with you. Lisa, I do see your comment, and it is believed that Albuquerque is a major hub for human trafficking and New Mexico as a whole, so I appreciate you sharing that. Ellis, how can we be in support and prayer for you? Now, I'll say this as well. In the comments area on our website at churchaliveabq.com, you'll see a link, and you'll also see it at the end of this video to Ellis's website. That'll give you more information, a little bit more clarity on some of the positions that he's passionate about. Also has a place to be able to donate if you are passionate about supporting him in his campaign. Feel free to do so as well. But coming back to that question, how can we be in support and prayer for you, Ellis?
Well, I'm excited about my campaign. I have a very robust campaign. However, I do have a primary opponent. So I would ask for those that are in my district to vote for me in the primary. Now, should I clear the primary, and I expect to, my opponent will then be a Democrat. His name is Damon Eli. He is the one that put in the extreme risk, or what we know as the red flag bill. There's also some other very extreme legislation that he's put in. And so I kind of feel like a shepherd boy with a sling going up against Goliath. However, we know the result of that. Mm-hmm. I'm a Christian. I believe in miracles. So pray along those lines.
Okay. That's great. And then you have an announcement on something just around the corner. Would you care to fill us in on that?
Give me a clue.
The plane ride over Santa Fe.
Okay. The first Thursday of May is the National Day of Prayer. So, like I said before, I'm a commercial pilot. So in the past, we've taken our aircraft and we've flown over Santa Fe. We've prayed for our federal leaders, for our state leaders, and it looks like I'm going to have a plane available on this May the 7th, and we'll be making a Facebook video as we're flying over Santa Fe.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm going to take a peek and make sure that we don't have any questions from our community that would like to be asked. I think we're good right there. So, Ellis, I appreciate you coming in. I think it's just great to just spend this time with you, hear your positions, hear your heart. We will definitely be in prayer for you and all of the candidates as we enter into this time. And we all know that this is not just a 4-year election. The stakes are high. And so, as I shared before, it's just our heart to make sure that when somebody walks into that booth, we as a church have done our due diligence to familiarize our congregation and the community with you and everyone else. So thank you for joining us, and good luck with your campaign.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Ellis.
All right.
Blessings. All right, and stopping. Ellis.
All right.
Blessings.